I get it. The 3D external world can be challenging at times and it might be so triggering to you. But you need to learn how to be non reactive so you can manifest your dream life. You can manifest whatever you want. So, in this video, I'm going to give you 4 ways in how to handle your 3D circumstances. So, let's first set the stage, okay? So, the 3D external world, as we know, is a reflection of our internal state. The 3D is essentially a dead world, okay? It's an illusion. Time is part of the 3D illusion, okay? It doesn't really exist. What goes on inside is going to be reflected outside. So how we feel internally, it's like a mirror. This is why people talk about the mirror principle. So the 3D does not matter. It doesn't matter because it follows what some people, okay, so essentially a lot of people call this the 4D, or it follows what people call the 4D, which is our imagination, our inner state, who we are being, okay? So in every moment to every moment, what happens is your 3D is always temporary. It's going to be shifting and changing around you to reflect your most dominant state. So that is what we have to focus on and not focus on the 3D. This is why it's so important. You have to focus on the 4D. We have to focus on the internal state and not the 3D external world. So how do we actually do this? Remember, 4 ways to coming up. So in the 4D, that is from our imagination. I just made a video about imagination not so long ago. So go definitely check that one out if you haven't already. But this is critically important, okay? Because it's in our imagination. It's who we are being in our imagination that determines what we experience in the 3D. So if we want better things in the 3D, we have to imagine better things in our imagination, okay? So the 3D can trap us in the old state. And this keeps us stuck in old patterns and cycles because we encounter something in the 3D and it just triggers us again. And encounter something in the 3D triggers us again, back into old patterns, back into old state. And when we're in that old state, guess what happens? The 3D reflects that back to us. And then the cycle continues over and over and over again. And that is why the majority of the world is stuck in this loop. Okay? They have the power to break out of it. And that's the whole goal I'm teaching you here is if you can become non-reactive to it, you can break out of this loop, break out of this negative cycle. Choose differently, choose your new state, choose what you want, make that your dominant state, and your 3D external reality will shift and change in the form around you to reflect your new dominant state, which is more of what you want, which is essentially manifestation. That's manifesting your dream reality, manifesting what you want, manifesting the experience you want to live in, okay? So the new state is what we shift into to manifest because when we're manifesting, it's all about shifting our identity. It's becoming the version of us that already has the thing we're trying to manifest, that already has that desire, that experiences that dream life, that dream reality. It exists right now. To get there, we need to shift ourselves internally. Internal shift is going to lead to external results, okay? That's key. So here are the 4 ways without further ado. So first, assign neutral meaning to everything. Everything that happens in the 3D external world is just an event. All these circumstances that you're so bothered by, it's because you have given them a negative meaning. You've assigned a negative meaning and you've been doing this so long, it's become a habit. Okay? When a bill comes in, and let's say you're trying to manifest money, when a bill comes in, because you think that you have to pay the money, money's going out, you automatically assign it negative meaning. You think that, damn it, a bill came in and now I've got to pay it. I'm going to have less money, but I'm trying to manifest money. It's not good for... No, you've assigned it a negative meaning. The bill comes in. It's just something that needs to be paid. That's all it is. You assign neutral meaning to it. In fact, maybe you assign a positive meaning to it if you can. You can assign a positive meaning to it. A bill comes in. Okay, well, I have an abundance of money. I'm so glad and grateful to pay for this service. Wow, I am so happy to be able to afford this service. That's how you assign positive meaning to it. But what do most people do? They assign negative meaning to it. They think that it's something taking away from what they have already. And so they start spiraling and dwelling on that and they get frustrated. At the end of the day, the bill has to be paid. You're just simply paying a bill. And if you can't get to the positive state from your negative state, just get to neutral. Okay, assign it a neutral meaning. This is what it is. It's just this neutral meaning. You can even do this with positive circumstances, by the way. Positive 3D, and train yourself to not be so giddy and happy about positive things happening. You can say, hey, look, yes, so happy this is happening, but you know what? I'm going to assign it neutral meaning just because I'm getting into the habit of everything in my 3D reality is neutral. It's just an event that happens. I'm training myself in order to have that discipline so when a negative event, what I deem most from my habit, a negative event, I can take a step back, remove myself from that situation, be like, hey, that's just a neutral thing that's happening. Okay? And then move on from there. So that cuts you out of the negative feedback loop. The second way that we can handle the 3D circumstances is by acknowledging and accepting what it is in that moment, but understand it's only temporary. It's just the 3D. It's just temporary. It doesn't mean ignore it. It doesn't mean suppress it. It means, hey, look, I understand this is what I'm going through right now in this moment because it's a reflection of my past state or my most dominant thoughts, but I have the power to change that. And because the 3D, nothing is ever, the only thing that's permanent is that everything is temporary. Okay? Everything always changes. Everything is always temporary. So knowing this, whatever is happening in the 3D doesn't matter. People change their minds all the time. Unexpected things happen all the time. The unexpected should be the expected because things are always shifting and changing in every single moment of every single day, in every single part of your life. You might not even be able to see it or observe it in that moment, but yes, they are changing all the time. So acknowledge and accept that it is for what it is, but it doesn't mean that you're agreeing that it is permanent because it's never permanent. That's another way to help you handle the 3D circumstances, no matter how dire it might look, right? Because they're going to change and shift at some point anyhow. And how and what they change into is up to you. Okay, so the third way to handle your 3D circumstances is to understand that the 3D circumstances are only reflecting who you are, and you have full control to change it. Okay? Now, you can also use the 3D as to your advantage to help you manifest. Because when you see things happening in your 3D that you don't prefer, it helps you shine a light onto certain areas of your life that you want to shift and change. It basically puts a spotlight on, hey, let me look within. These people, this group of people is behaving pretty poorly to me. Let me go in. Or maybe it's something that like an SP, a specific person is not reacting to me the way I want. They're always ignoring me. They're off with some other person. Okay, maybe that's an area of life I have to look into. Am I feeling like I deserve to be chosen? Do I feel like I deserve to be prioritized and loved and treated well? And maybe that's a part of you that you need to work on and to shift internally. So that's the advantage of using the 3D because it's a reflection of us, right? It's always a reflection of us. Use that. Use that to try to address whatever area that might need addressing so you can move from that. Okay? So it's never about ignoring the 3D. It's not about not paying attention to it. For some people, that can be a route that's helpful to them because they get super triggered by it and they're just better in going the neutrality route. But this is why I'm giving you multiple different ways to handle the 3D because everyone is different, right? So in this method, know that you have the power to change it. You have full control. And so you shouldn't be worried about whatever the 3D is showing you because you, based on your state, is going to determine the 3D that's going to happen to you next, in the next moment, and the next moment. And you have full control of that, okay? And it actually helps you because it shows you where you perhaps need to shift and change within you. And last but not least, the fourth way to handle the 3D circumstances is assume everything that happens in the 3D is actually bringing you closer to your manifestation. That it is actually happening to you so it can bring it in the quickest possible way, and it's always working in your favor, okay? Even if it doesn't logically make sense, it's just part of the bridge of incidence. This is what Neville Goddard talks about all the time. So just assume that everything that's, no matter what it is, it might not look like it logically can connect to your desire, your manifestation. Well, you know what? Assume that it does. Because whatever we assume to be true will be a true. That's law of assumption. So just assume that whatever is happening in the 3D is actually working itself towards your manifestation. Even if your logical brain thinks that it is going the other direction. No, it's not going the other direction. It is actually bringing you closer to your manifestation, okay? It's actually, everything is unfolding perfectly, and it's actually bringing you quicker to already having your desire. And that's the fourth way. So these are powerful ways when you implement it into your manifestation practice to how to handle your 3D circumstances, because when you become more non-reactive to them, or you know how to handle them, because it's going to happen. We're all humans. We're going to react and we feel things. But if you can become aware of how you're feeling it and what you can change and shift and how you approach the 3D, it's going to make your life so much easier when you manifest, because it's going to be so much easier to embody the new state. And that's the goal, right? To enjoy that new state, to embody that new state. So the 3D will reflect that change. But you have to go within first. And I've given you 4 ways to hopefully help you with that and assist with that. I'm sure it's going to really change how you've been doing things and hopefully help you out. Okay? So happy manifesting. Until next time.